Just 2 short NBA seasons ago, this franchise hit rock bottom.
There's a difficult subject to tackle right here. It's the Detroit Pistons. They are in the midst of a 24-game losing streak. They possibly could become the worst team in NBA history.
Today, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference. So how did Detroit pull off one of the most improbable turnarounds in league history? Because this isn't just a feel-good story. If this holds, Detroit goes from rebuilding to quietly becoming a real problem for the rest of the conference. And maybe even more impactful than that, they have a chance to go a place they haven't been in over 20 years. The NBA Finals. Worst record in the NBA, including a record for the longest losing streak ever at 28 games, the Pistons had no clear direction forward. But they did have one glimmer of light, Cade Cunningham. Today, Cade is in the MVP conversation, and the Pistons have the best record in the Eastern Conference. 2 years and a jump in all 15 spots to the top of the standings, a turnaround unheard of in this league. No team ever rebuilds in such a quick fashion, and not to the level that the Pistons are in such a short period of time. But the Pistons aren't every other team. They're the blueprint of how to change a team's future. So what makes the Pistons a contender now? How did they turn around so fast?
Come on, man.
Detroit basketball.
You simply can't talk about the Pistons' success this year without talking about their leader, Cade Cunningham. He's the driver on offense, makes everybody around him better, and maybe even more importantly, he has the mentality to lead a team to success. Because currently Cade is 12th in scoring, but everybody knows he can do that. That's why the dude was drafted in the first place. First overall, mind you. And that absolutely helps the Pistons win, don't get me wrong. But what I think he does that's overshadowed and possibly more impactful is his playmaking ability. Second in the NBA with almost 10 assists a night, Cade is one of the league's best at getting his teammates involved. These aren't just empty assists either. Cade is constantly surveying, reading the defense every possession, deciphering the help side's next move. He's getting his rollers involved in the screen game and making sure he's hitting his shooters in the pocket. Cade running the show on offense has been a large part to the Pistons' success. Cade isn't just piling up stats, he's making sure the Pistons get the best shot each time down the floor. Let's take a look at this play for example. Duncan's getting the back screen and going into a dribble handoff with Duren. Then Cade gets another dribble handoff from Duncan into a ball screen from Duren. Now at this point, this defender right here has to respect Duncan, the shooter in the wing. But with Duren rolling to the basket, he has to at least dive in to not allow the easy dunk. This is where Cade's playmaking comes into play. Because Cade looks off the defender to the shooter at the wing and then throws a lob to Duren for the dunk. Because not only did Cade get to the defender to close out on Duncan, he also throws the defender in the paint that could have had a chance to stop Duren. This is next level playmaking abilities from Cade Cunningham. The play itself didn't create a great look, but Cade passed it open. One of the greatest facilitators in the game all time, Steve Nash, even had this to say about Cade's abilities earlier this year.
We always knew like he's a playmaker, he can make plays for others, of course, makes his teammates better, but I feel like he's even taken another step. You mentioned the Duren pick and roll combination, that's taken a big leap, but just in general, he's making early passes, late passes, short passes, the long pass ahead, he's making the corner pass over the top. He's kind of gotten every pass in his bag now, and it's really impressive to watch him have command, and you can't speed him up with his size.
Cade makes everyone around him better. The gravity he has allows for shooters like Duncan Robinson to thrive with more open looks, and for Jalen Duren to be a threat in the pick and roll. Because when you're making the right read every possession, you're not just running an offense, you're setting a standard. That's exactly what Cade has done ever since he was drafted first overall. There was not a whole lot to be happy about. He was drafted into one of the worst situations in the league, constant losing, roster turnover, no clear direction, the kind of environment where young stars usually get frustrated fast. And a lot of players in that spot start pointing fingers. They talk about needing help, they quietly shift blame. Cade did the opposite. He never threw his teammates under the bus, never complained publicly, he just kept showing up, working, putting his head down, and getting better. In fact, he placed the blame on himself at times, demonstrating the maturity for such a young player. When your MVP caliber player does this, it sets the expectation for everyone. Now look at this team. They play connected, they play accountable, and when things go wrong, they don't splinter, they respond. This leadership is exactly what a contending team needs to be guided. But although Cade can make it easier on his teammates, they still have to play a part. And that they do. A role player is defined as someone who excels in a specific, often supporting function within a team or activity rather than being the primary star. All the great teams have them, and they're usually the difference between actually winning a championship and just being another good team in history. And the thing about role players is they have to truly embrace their role. If one player decides to go off script and play out of that said role, the whole team structure falls apart. But lucky enough for this Detroit Pistons team, they got a lot of role players and they are exceptional. Starting off with the Pistons big man, Jalen Duren, the anchor of this team. Duren doesn't need touches to impact the game. He sets hard screens, finishes at the rim, works in the pick and roll, and absolutely controls the glass. Not to mention, he can protect the rim with his size and length. In other words, he's the dirty work guy, not afraid to do the not so fancy stuff in order to help the team win. Next, we have Asar Thompson, the two-way guy. He does everything that doesn't show up in a box score. Defending, cutting, switching, keeping possessions alive. He's a vital piece for the team, guarding the opposing team's best perimeter player every night, bringing a defensive versatility to a backcourt that probably needs it, with some of their offensive first pieces at the guard position already. Isaiah Stewart, the tone setter. Stewart knows exactly who he is and what he brings to the team. Toughness, rim protection, and embodies the Detroit basketball hard-nosed culture. He truly fits the team's mantra to a T. When you need a 50-50 ball, he's your guy. Always diving on the floor, always giving 100%. He'll always be there to back up his teammates, and he's had an impressive season, being second in the league in blocks while only playing around 23 minutes per game, which is very impressive. None of these guys try to be something they're not. That's why this works so well. They simply buy in to whatever is best for the team. And when you combine leadership, role clarity, and trust, you get an identity. And an identity is needed to win. That identity didn't appear out of thin air. JB Bickerstaff brought a winning and grit and grind culture to Detroit, allowing the roster to flourish within the system. The team is reminiscent of the 2004-2005 Pistons with their defense-first philosophy that JB brings in. Defense is the best way to make a good culture because it comes from basic effort, teamwork, and communication. It establishes quality values within the team. Number 2 in defensive rating, first in steals, and third in blocks per game as a team, the Pistons don't just have the mindset to lock you down, they excel in shutting down opposing offenses. JB has everybody playing their roles, reinforcing the right mentality, and then allowing for a star like Cade to have responsibilities that allow his talent to fully blossom. Detroit's rise stands out because most last place teams don't make this jump this quickly. Look around the league. Charlotte, Washington, they have no clear identity. They've been at the bottom of the league and haven't really been able to dig their way out of that hole to get to a spot where they can contend. All those teams had pieces in place, but development without standards stalls. Detroit did the opposite. They established accountability first, roles second, and the results followed. They built a team that truly buys into the philosophy. And that's the difference between rebuilding and restarting every year. And Detroit did it right. So what does this actually mean going forward? It means development accelerates because young players now know exactly what's expected of them. It means future moves won't be about fixing chaos, but reinforcing identity. And it means the expectations have changed for Detroit. They aren't chasing respect anymore, they've established it. The truth is, rebuilds don't end when you start winning. They end when you stop guessing, and Detroit, they aren't guessing anymore.
And